Wow, it's like Clear and Present Danger or something. Going through the Bolivian forest with a bunch of DEA people or something.
It's like the song before met Angry Reggae Man and had a baby. This is it.
Get your baby out of my crib. Your baby does not have appropriate dreadlocks. Get a wig. All right, keeping our enemies closer. That's why Bill and I moved a little further apart. Because, Bill, I promise I'm not your enemy.
I still got long arms. I can reach you.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll keep scooting back then. Thank you. All right, the Houston Cougars. And what would have been an interesting game no matter what, even if the Houston hierarchy hadn't fired the dork Major Applewhite, this game was going to be entertaining. Add to it the fact that one of the craziest people in college football, and I'm talking right up there with Lane Kiffin and Billy's boy Harbaugh in terms of personalities.
What about Leach crazy?
No, that would not be fair. I don't think anybody's as crazy as Mike Leach. And I'll tell you something, for those of you, normally I'm not going to tout other sites because I think that's silly, but there is an extremely interesting story on The Athletic that's got a bunch of Mike Leach's old quarterbacks, some that played, some that were second, and some that were third team, and their stories about quarterback meetings with Mike Leach. And it's an unbelievable read. Let's just say they would tell the young guys when they came in, don't say anything, don't ask anything, we'll be here for another hour and a half, as he would just go off on these stories. And it's a great read. If you get a chance, read the Athletics story on Mike Leach.
If I'm a freshman coming into those classes, I'm probably not going to say anything anyway.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
It's Mike Leach. You probably knew when he recruited you that he's a little out there.
That's right. One of the reasons you went there, probably.
Right.
But it's and I'll tell you, the neat thing about the story is it's not necessarily flattering. It's pretty much written as an observation. So some of these quarterbacks are like, I never had a clue. I never had any idea what we were even in there talking about. So eclectic, abstract. Yeah. And I have to tell you, Dana Holgerson's in the same mold. He truly is. The interesting thing about Dana is, I don't know, Bill. Now, I've got a couple of really good friends that are West Virginia people. In fact, 3 of them. And 2 of them are alumni and season ticket holders. There was never any embrace in a way that is necessary for a school to take on the identity of a coach or vice versa, the willingness. And, he came in a bad spot, with the, in terms of having to replace a guy. What was it? First he was going to be the associate head coach, and then it got personal, and it never really meshed well.
Sounds like a bad movie title.
And
associate head coach, and then it got personal.
In a world where Morgantown doesn't allow the genius of Dana Holgerson to stick around. It really did get bad, though. It's weird. Because didn't they kill Clemson? It was like the second year, put 70 on them or something like that. Then they hire Brent Venables and never lose again.
Yeah, it's
good move down there. Good call.
It's that weird vibe with Holgerson. You could even see it on the sidelines. They the first year, it didn't feel like they bought in. Then they started winning, and they're kind of rallying around, and then these last couple of years, it's just he's going to leave at some point. You just kind of felt that.
Yeah. It's a weird vibe.
You can feel that sometimes coming across with some head coaches. is he really even coaching anymore,
Yeah.
or is it just your associates?
And Bill, I'll tell you, if there was a group of people that probably had a little feeling that would know what that felt like. I mean, think about the whole thing with Rich Rod.
Yeah.
There's a perfect example of kind of getting shafted by somebody, and who knows how Neil Brown's going to work out. All you hear is great things, and I've seen Troy, and they've got a really good offense. He looks to be more of a cultural fit there. Dana's, I think Houston's great for Dana, and I think they'll be formidable for a little while in Norman on Sunday night, a week from Sunday.
I won't disagree with that either. I think first quarter, is really going to set the tone for this whole game. The absolute first quarter. Second quarter, third quarter, I believe it should be getting away from Houston at that point. But if Holgorsen comes out in that first 10 minutes like I think he's going to, this game's going to be super tight and super competitive. You're going to see Houston guys, because they can get athletes fly around.
There's a reason that the Big 12 did not want Houston in it.
Right. And that's not just in football. Their basketball team has been amazing, too,
Kelvin
for the
Sampson.
last couple of years.
I'm sure he's texting people right now that he shouldn't be.
Right. Wow. Hold on. Tweet alert. Tweet alert. He will be over later. Oh, no, excuse me.
Sweet.
But first 10 minutes will be the tone of this game, and probably the tone for OU season on how well they're going to be throughout the rest of the year.
Bill, you tell me what Dana Holgorsen has to lose in his opening game.
Absolutely nothing.
He is.
And tell me this isn't a team he wants to get back at.
Oh, my goodness. Well, think about this. Do you know how many times, forget just Dana Holgorsen, since the Big 12 and West Virginia came aboard, do you know how many wins they have against OU?
How many?
0.
Ooh, that's a lot.
They have 1 win against Oklahoma State and 0 against Oklahoma, and I think they're probably 500 or better against the rest of the league.
So, OU this season is in a very difficult and uncharted territory compared to any other team we've ever seen.
Yes,
Reason?
while still having a lot of optimism.
Well, I say that, reason being, not that they've been super amazing teams by any means. They've been really good. But because you have a relatively new head coach who has been proven to be somewhat in the mold of a Sean McVay as far as being innovative with his offense, who's put out back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners, you're telling everybody that's, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that they don't want to come and shut that up.
Right.
Like, you're going to get, and even more so than ever before, not just because your name says Sooners anymore, but because Lincoln Riley's your head coach,
right.
and you put out 2 Heisman Trophy winners.
Yeah, you're looking.
Everybody's best.
It's like being in the doctor's office when the little girl comes out and the doctor goes, now, I got to give you a shot, but you can't make any noise because she just got the same one, and she didn't scream.
Right.
So, yeah. By the way, Sean McVay, Bill, we could talk about this or mention it. We're talking pro football here in a little bit. I watched most of the Dallas LA Rams game from Aloha Stadium. What I like about some of these exhibition games is that you get the local broadcast, and you get to hear them. They had McVay mic'd up for probably 5 or 6 minutes during that game. They bring him on while the defense is out there, and he's commenting on how the team's playing. He's like the third guy in the booth.
Right.
And then they went, man, it's great, Coach. Going back to the offense, we really appreciate your time. You want to stick around? And he goes, yeah, I'll stick around. Yeah, I'll do. And so then he's critiquing his offense. He's got the I can't think of the guy's name, the new offensive coordinator that he brought in. But I just sat there thinking, okay, I like this guy as a coach, but now I get it. I mean, I understand why this guy has people running through walls for him. He is awesome. And it was great to see him hire Zach Robinson. Zach Robinson's the quarterback coach there, and that'll be I think an upward trajectory for Zach. And we always look into the future, and of the belief that if everything fell into place, that Zach Robinson will probably replace Mike Gundy at some point as the coach at Oklahoma State.
Interesting. What are your
8 years?
What are your feelings on NFL coaches? So Major League Baseball tried it with miking up players in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on miking up coaches throughout the season?
See, I'm all for it as long as you are able to deal with FCC. And again, if it's cable, but we've moved so far from that to paying and streaming that I think it's probably, I would guess that it's coming sooner than later. I mean, if you can listen to NASCAR and the guys in the, if you can do all that, why couldn't you listen to it?
None of that's censored, trust me.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying, so I don't know why not. The coaches are going to, it's going to have to be mandated. They're not going to volunteer to do it. Can you just see Saban go, "Oh, talk to me"? I know you're talking pros, but it'd be
tough because you're going to have to cut them off at a certain point because if, we'll say, Belichick is throwing out a play or something like that, or maybe you mic up the assistant coaches or something,
How great would it be, though, Bill, to go, "Sorry, Bill.
Yeah.
We're going to commercial break. Thanks for your time."
Yeah, hold on. Geico's got an ad they got to run right here. That's right. We'll get to you next week.
Yeah, it's the camel one. We can't miss the camel one. So. Yeah. So Houston, De'Aaron King, Bill, he is electric. He got hurt last year, but before suffering his knee injury, he had completed 64% of his passes, threw for over 3,000 yards and 36 touchdowns with 6 picks. Now you're going to put him in a different kind of car that's got more horsepower, and it could be really interesting. They have Marquez Stevenson, the junior wide receiver, Patrick Carr, who's a solid running back that will be the yin to King's yang when he takes the ball and runs with it. Keith Corbin is a senior seasoned wide receiver that's both of their receivers are in the top 2 depth charts in terms of the All-American Athletic Conference players. Here's what killed them last year, Bill, and we were talking about Houston's chance in this game. They were outpossessed 35-25. They've got to be better at running the football, and I think if King lasts through the season, then that number needs to get closer to half and half. Because they're going to need to maintain possession, certainly against Oklahoma.
That or put up 20 more points on teams. I mean, it's going to be one way or the other.
That's fair.
I mean, if you think about it, so some of the OU teams in the past that have hung 40 on some people didn't run the ball as effectively as they do now, which is still amazing because they still don't run it that often. And I think that's where a lot of these air raid or even some of the pro style stuff that they do now with like the West Coast where it's all slant passes and go routes, that
it's go time.
Utilize a good running back when you've got him.
Yeah.
Like if he's got hands, if you've got to throw it to him out of the backfield, that's fine. If you've got to hand him the ball on read options, that's fine. But underutilizing running backs in the college game, granted, it's great for the running back because he's going to the NFL and he's still got mileage on him. But I think that loses a lot of teams' games more so than anything else. You can talk about the passing game all you want. That'll get there. But if you can't run the ball and effectively move that defense around where they have to focus on it just a tad, then you'll never be able to catch up or never be able to play.
No, you just can't. You just can't move the chains enough to make it.
Right.
Because this isn't this is how many points per possession are you getting?
Yeah.
Which means every time you punt it, you have just skewed those numbers against you, and you just have to figure out how to at least get 3 almost every time. And certainly on a Sunday night in Norman, Oklahoma. Defensively, Bill, this was one of the reasons that I think they have similarities to Oregon State. Ed Oliver's gone, but even last year, they gave up 497 yards and 37 points a game. Now, those are numbers that we can probably live with when you start thinking the Big 12. And keep in mind that the American Athletic Conference, there's a lot of offense there, too, when you think of UCF, USF, Memphis, even Temple, for example. There's a pretty good offense out there, SMU. But their defense is just pretty porous, and I think that's why I mentioned it's just a great opportunity for the new quarterback and for this offensive line, because you got two horses that can run the ball. Yeah. You're going to control clock, and you can throw it when you want to. But their best players, their two safeties, Gleason Sprewell.
Any relation?
I don't. Has Holgorsen been choked yet?
Well, not that we know of.
Okay, so I'm guessing no. Deontay Anderson is a safety. He's one of their top players. Defensive end Isaiah Chambers, who played the other side last year. Linebacker Leroy Godfrey, a senior, and then defensive tackle Aniel Fleming, a senior. They've got pretty good veteran play on the defense, but again, they weren't that great. So is that good? They lost Oliver, and they've got to figure out a way, just like Oregon State, to get some sacks, to get some stops. That's just not something they've been able to. And Bill, these guys are playing a tough schedule. They've got OU, Washington State, and then they get into their regular schedule. But they're playing North Texas too, and Mason Fine and Seth Luttrell's offense could give them some trouble. If you're looking at it from a defensive perspective. They really need Olivier Charles Pierre Jr. That's like
Olivier Charles Pierre Jr.
They called me Dale, Darrell Walker, Richard Petty, Rusty Awesome Bill, Irvin Gordon, Earnhardt, Smith, Johnson Jr. NASCAR man.
I'm glad you got that memorized.
Tim Wilson. The key for their season, Bill, besides coming out of the gate against Oklahoma, usually ends up being the Memphis game, and that one will probably decide the West again. So that's a look at Houston. Bill, one other thing, looking at their schedule, the American really likes some of these games. They're trying to prove a point. So Houston opens against OU. I mentioned they play Washington State at Energy Stadium. Cincinnati opens the season against UCLA and goes to Ohio State. UCF hosts Stanford and travels to Pitt. USF opens at home against Wisconsin and plays Georgia Tech. And Memphis hosts Ole Miss to start the week. Just think if they go 500 somehow, then Mike Oresco gets to keep saying Power 6, and at some point somebody's got to start paying attention.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. In terms of how they market that conference, you got to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah.
When we come back, I'm going to turn it over to that guy to talk about baseball being very good to Billy.
You're listening to Excessive Celebration on Crossover Radio.
And Billy, when we come back,
yes,
let's mention how people can help out Bethany Public Schools when they come to where we are to enjoy some coffee.
Get that app.